welcome to our video.
Today we're going to... OMG, what is that? Is that a button?
Wait, what do you think it does? Let's see. And then... Where are we? There's so many Michael Jackson albums, Ghostbusters posters, and muscle tees everywhere.
We have to be in 1984!
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. Yes, does anyone know what was happening in history during this time?
During this time, the Cold War was coming to a close. Tensions were still high as there was a totalitarian regime in Czechoslovakia. The Soviet invasion of Prague in 1968 was also important for this book, as the text takes place in Prague around the same time.
Wait, I actually didn't know that. Yeah, same.
Well, if we're here, we might as well look and see what's around us.
Oh my gosh, did you see that, man? You look so crazy wearing a full suit in the middle of summer.
And look at all those papers around you. You look a mess. Maddie, this says...
Yeah, I know. That means he's...
Hey guys, I'm Milan Kundera. So nice to meet you all.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for picking up my paper. This is the cover page of my latest philosophical fiction novel, The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
No way.
Yeah, it's about to be my greatest masterpiece yet.
The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Didn't we read about that in English class?
You guys feel something weird?
Yeah, because we just met Milan Kundera.
No, it's something else.
What are you talking about?
Something's tingling.
Oh my gosh, what the heck is happening?
Wait, it looks like we're being teleported somewhere new.
The Unbearable Lightness of Being begins with Kundera discussing Nietzsche's philosophy of the eternal return. Kundera discusses how every action was relived forever, that each aspect of life would have extreme light, but because life only happens once, life becomes very light. This discussion of lightness versus weight becomes a pivotal theme throughout the novel. After the introduction, the rest of the novel follows the four main characters: Tomas, Teresa, Sabina, and Franz, through different shared experiences, presenting them differently through each of their perspectives. Tomas is a doctor and surgeon living in Prague, Czechoslovakia, who Kundera characterizes with lightness because of his incorrigible womanizing. In his past, Tomas was married to a woman and had a son, but the marriage failed and he began to pursue casual relationships as a womanizer, and he becomes more and more careless towards his life. Teresa is a younger woman who Tomas meets in a cafe who dreams of an escape and is working as a waitress, and is often associated with the philosophy of having weight, especially in contrast with Tomas. Teresa's past is associated mainly by her difficult relationship with her mother, in which they have opposing ideologies. Teresa is a cautious person who tends to care about things such as beauty, privacy, and finding deeper meaning. But Teresa's mother criticizes her and causes her to be unstable later in her life, especially in her relationship with Tomas. Teresa and Tomas begin to develop love for each other, but Tomas continues with his womanizing. Teresa, being associated with the weight of life and actions, is distraught to the point of internal suffering by Tomas's infidelities. While Teresa is having this internal struggle, which includes nightmares and a constant state of being uneasy, Kundera continues to explore her past and the tumultuous relationship she had with her mother. Tomas is unable to part with his mistresses, especially Sabina, who is a painter Kundera associates with lightness. Teresa and Sabina become friends, but the jealousy and uneasiness Teresa feels due to Tomas's womanizing does not resolve. Meanwhile, as Sabina is becoming a more important character in the novel, Kundera discusses her past. Sabina is categorized by her rebellious personality against her strict parents, especially her rigid and traditional father. This constant rebellion leads to her lightness later in life, which Kundera hones in to characterize her and develop her perspective. Sabina eventually has an affair with Franz, a character who contrasts with her more strongly as he values meaning and deep connection. They have a similar dynamic to Teresa and Tomas as their lightness and weight contrast. Franz is associated with his devotion and morals, which is supported by his past, in which his family valued similar qualities. He later became a university professor, but seeked more in life, leading him to his love affair with Sabina. Through both of the relationships with Teresa and Tomas and Sabina and Franz, the theme of lightness and weight becomes more and more important. Teresa and Franz continue to struggle with their internal battles, Teresa struggling with Tomas's womanizing, and Franz struggling with his morals and his relationship with Sabina. In the end of the novel, Teresa and Tomas move to the countryside and live a mundane life, where they eventually die in a car crash together. Franz leaves his wife for Sabina, but she ends up betraying him and leaving for Geneva. Franz continues to struggle with his internal conflict until his meaningless and lonely death at a protest in Southeast Asia. In the end, all the characters have separated through either their different life events or their death. While Sabina herself is the only character who does not explicitly die, she is completely separate from the story and living in solitude. In the end of the novel, the theme and discussion of lightness and weight is still crucial.
Wow, that's a really interesting book. I never knew that.
So what are some of the themes seen throughout the novel?
Well, some of the major ones are lightness and weight, body and soul, eternal return, past versus present, gender roles, love, and family.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Now, let's go to the thought bubble and learn about some of the key authorial choices.
Welcome to the thought bubble. Some of the main authorial choices are symbolism, structure, and perspective. So for symbolism, there are two main symbols that stand out the most. First is Sabina's bowler hat, and then Teresa's suitcase. So firstly, Sabina's bowler hat. It was given to her by her grandfather, and it's a very masculine object. And so it represents, or it contrasts the masculinity and the femininity that Sabina's character embodies. So the bowler hat, when Sabina puts it on, it makes her seem stronger and almost more in control of a situation. For example, when she uses it sexually, and then when she takes it off, it kind of brings back her femininity. So it emphasizes the idea of the contrast between masculinity and femininity. Secondly, there's also the suitcase, which belongs to Teresa, and it really emphasizes the theme of lightness and weight. And so Sabina's suitcase is very heavy, and it represents her as a heavy character because of all the love that she carries. And so the suitcase really demonstrates how Kundera employs the theme of lightness and weight. And then also the story is told in different parts, and each part is a different character that tells from their perspective. So the four characters, Sabina, Franz, Teresa, and Tomas, all have different parts throughout the story where the reader understands the book from their perspective, which is helpful in allowing a full understanding of the text.
The first paper 2 question we can discuss in the Unbearable Lightness of Being is discuss the ways in which two texts you've studied portray abstract concepts. And the second is, referring to two works you've studied, discuss the influence of time periods on the portrayal of gender roles.
The Unbearable Lightness of Being can also be connected to the other texts that we have read. So the first text that the Unbearable Lightness of Being can be connected to is The Other Wes Moore, where both texts explore these themes of identity and fate. So for example, both texts explore the impact of upbringing on a person's identity. In the Unbearable Lightness of Being, it was Teresa's mother, and in The Other Wes Moore, it was the two Wes's parental figures and how this had an impact on their lifestyle and their identity. And also, both texts explored themes about choices in the human experience, such as living a life of lightness or heaviness. And in The Other Wes Moore, it just talks about how the choices one make can decide their future and their fate, such as the other Wes choosing to go into a life of crime. And the Unbearable Lightness of Being can also be connected to The Handmaid's Tale. So in The Unbearable Lightness of Being and The Handmaid's Tale, both texts explore themes of identity. So, as stated before, in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, the identity of the characters focus on their choice of a light or a heavy life. And in The Handmaid's Tale, it explores how the identity given to an individual by society can impact their choices in life, such as the handmaids and the choices they make. And then the text also explores power struggles. So, in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, Tomas has power over Teresa and other people in society, and it explores how the power struggle in how their relationship is impacted by this power struggle. And then in The Handmaid's Tale, Nick has power over Offred, and similarly, the commander also has power over Offred. So it talks about how gender has an impact on the power dynamics between individuals in a society.